Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and I'm really excited to show you the latest addition to my suburban Chicago garden. This is my side yard garden, and I can't wait to show you all that's in it. But first, let me tell you a little bit about my motivation. I mean, as a gardener, you don't need a whole lot of motivation other than the desire to have more plants. So that was definitely number one. But the side yard garden was this expansive green grass, and I love grass. There's a place for grass in every garden, but I also felt like it was an opportunity to introduce some really beautiful plants that would be gorgeous from both vantage points. And what I mean by that is my neighbors have to look at it too, so I wanted to make it something that was pretty for them as well as for me. And it's we frequent this area all the time. So do my neighbors. So we each have gates on this side of the house, so everybody's coming in and out of our gardens, and it just was an opportunity to create a really nice experience in this space. And I think side yards are often overlooked too, and it's such a great opportunity to add more plants, and who doesn't like that? So what I've also learned about creating a garden that goes from your fence all the way to your sidewalk is the sense of community that it creates in the garden, because I've met so many people that I never knew before, and they've all come specifically because they've loved watching the progress of the garden, how it's evolved. And I started this process back last summer, and just started by removing some of the grass and dropping in some really good compost, about 3 inches of compost, and kind of letting that soak in. I didn't dig it in. I let the earthworms pull it down into the soil, waited for the winter and did some planting. And full transparency here, I didn't really have a drawn out plan, and I don't do that very frequently. I do that sometimes. But I had a general idea of what I wanted, my must-have plants in the garden, and then I added things around that, and I was really focused on creating a late summer fall garden. I love those colors. I love the way the light hits it at that time of the year. So I wanted things that were a little later flowering, because I have a spring garden, I have a pollinator garden. Well, actually, everything in my garden for the most part is pollinator friendly, and that's really important to me. So I've had a really great time talking with people, meeting new people because of this space that I've created, and I'm excited to share it with you today. And hopefully I can remember the names of these plants, because some of them get away from me sometimes, especially the newer ones. I will forget their names, so bear with me here. But I'm going to flip this around and give you the tour. So this is my driveway, and this is the entrance into the side yard garden. So this bed here has been here for a very long time. This is a very hot bed, a very dry bed. It's next to the asphalt. So the plants that I have in this area here are Millennium Allium that I've divided time and again. There's some Goldsturm Rebeckia, and let's see, I've got some Magnus coneflower in here. Those are the original coneflowers that I planted and have relocated from other parts of the garden. And I think this is a perennial hibiscus, and I think that one might be called the Evening Rose from Proven Winners. Love that one. But that is, I've always called this the driveway garden, and you can find more about that on the blog. I'll link to all of that in the description below. So that is my little driveway garden, and that's like the first little pocket that I started with out here, and that's evolved over time too. I've had a lot of plants come and go, and I've got some daylily back here. This is my Elizabeth, still working on this gimbal, operating this gimbal, but that's my Elizabeth magnolia. It gets these beautiful, creamy, like buttery yellow flowers on it, and then a capitata yew for a little winter interest too. So I always love, when I'm planting garden, I always want to make sure I've got things that will have some winter interest, whether it's seed heads, some conifers for the evergreen, places for the birds to hide in the winter time. So I definitely took all that into consideration when I was doing this bed, and as well as the whole side yard bed. But I also have done some deadheading too, so there's going to be some things laying in the path here, but it kind of goes with the territory. So starting off along the sidewalk here, there is a Tien Shin 7 sunflower, and it's flowered. It's super pollinator friendly. And then all of these little seed heads, these are going to turn, I don't know, is that what you call it? Or is it calyxes? I can't remember what you call it. But they turn a brilliant red, so it's got that gorgeous fall interest as well. And I can't get over how the plant has just filled in already. I just planted this last late summer, early fall. And the cool thing about Tien Shin, or 7 sunflower in general, is that the bark on it, let's see if I can get you in there. The bark on this tree it's a peeling bark. So let's see, can't really see it in there, but it's a peeling bark, so you get the winter interest of that as well. So you've got the spring summer flowers, and then the coloring of those seed heads for this fall, and just once I limb it up a little bit, which is my plan, as it gets taller, I'll limb it up, and then the peeling bark will become more evident. So then around it, I've got some Smorgasbord or prairie dropseed that I took from another part of the garden, and I just divided it many times, and it's taken so well. And it's supposed to smell like popcorn, although I've never detected that, and I've had it in the garden. I've never gotten a popcorny scent from it at all. I just love the airy texture of it and its toughness. And then in here, I've also done a lot of seed starting this year for the bed, because it really is the most economical way to go when you're doing a garden, is if you can start some seeds. And this is Irish poet tassel flower, Amelia, I think it's called. And I started that from seed. I've got some that are kind of drying out. Once we had that bad storm last week, a lot of the things really took a hit. We got a lot of rain. Some of the things just started looking kind of bad, but for the most part, I love how these things are filling out. But look at let me get you a little closer to some of this tassel flower. I love the little paintbrush-like flowers on that, and it just flowers its little head off like crazy. And I absolutely love orange in the garden. And look at the combination of the Verbena brunariensis, which is just another self-sower, with the tassel flower, that orange and purple. I just think that's such a great combination. So that's what I have at the base of my Tian Shen 7 sunflower. And then let's go over by the sidewalk here. And these are divisions that I've taken from other parts of the garden. So this is an introduction from Brent Horvath, and it's American Goldbrush Rebecca. And I just split this. I keep splitting this guy, and it can take it. And the flower's pollinator friendly, really tough, and it doesn't develop those leaf spot issues like Goldsturm tends to. And I like it for that reason. And I also happen to love yellow in the garden. Got some tassel flower coming up in here everywhere too. That's the thing about tassel flower, is it's self-sows. So I like that though, and I'll just pull it out. It's easy to pull out from where I don't want it. So I paired the American Gold Rush Rebecca with the Cobalt Leatris, and I've got a deadhead this, but it's got really pretty purple flowers. So when all of this fills in, all of it's very pollinator friendly as well. So when all of this fills in, it'll be the yellow American Gold Rush and the purple Leatris. Really beautiful combination. And then moving down, I bought these as a kind of a last minute thing. Found them at Sunrise Greenhouse, which is my most favorite garden center. It's a massive greenhouse, so you really have to go with a plan for that, because you will get overwhelmed by the amount of plants that you have to choose from in this place. But this is one called Firefly Fuchsia. It's a proven winners, but another very pollinator friendly, very tough plant. And that was really my focus for this bed, is actually for my entire garden, I want plants that are going to not need much coddling from me. I'm not a coddler. So you need to, after the initial getting comfortable thing where I'm watering and stuff, I want to know that the plants can pretty much make it on their own, unless we're in a really horrendous drought. And Achillea or yarrow is one of those plants. And then next to it is some more Magnus coneflower that I took from another part of the garden, and my sunflowers. I just direct sowed a bunch of these, and look at, and I can't remember the name of them, but I've got some. This might be Chianti. Can't remember. So dark and beautiful. Oh, I love it. And this is where I first noticed I had deer. So directly across the street, I've got deer. There's woods, and the deer found this and just started nibbling up the entire side. And so I've been experimenting with different repellents, and some have worked and others have not. So I think getting them to this point, I'm really happy that they're that tall. And I did stake these. I was really meticulous about staking these guys before that tornado, actually the 19 tornadoes hit around us last week. So these guys stayed upright, and I had really good stakes in there with them. My dahlias really got smashed from the storm too. A lot of them were just, even though they were staked, just could not take the wind for some reason. So back this area here is all daylilies that I took from another part of the garden. They needed to be divided. So there's some Egyptian spice and some cherry cheeks in here, and that's what is planted along. So this is my neighbor's side here. Oops, it's my neighbor's side. He put a beautiful new gate in too, so isn't that pretty? And then, let's see, toward the back, this is a cookies and cream. I love the foliage on this. This is a new perennial hibiscus from Proven Winners. This is a cookies and cream hibiscus, and it's got these big white flowers on it. But I love things that have beautiful foliage. I almost find them almost more interesting sometimes than the flowers, because once the flowers are gone, you still have the foliage color, which I think is wonderful. And then I've got some dahlias here, and actually it fell over. I don't recall who this is either, but got some damage. And then there's some Centara lilac. So I've got Centara lilac, 3 of them actually. I've got one, oops, right here, further down here. So they're planted in a triangle around the back. And with small spaces, these are going to be really big lilac shrubs, but I'm going to train them into a multi-stem tree form so that I've got some, you can see, anybody that comes past the garden will be able to see through, the branches or the trunks of the tree lilac, or it's not even a tree lilac, they're Centara lilac. So I'll treat them as trees, I'll train them as trees. And then further down this way, I've got a quick fire, right in here, there's a quick fire panicle hydrangea. And let me just take you along the back side. So this is an arborvitae. If you're a small space gardener and you want some evergreen, something evergreen in your garden, but you don't have a lot of room, this guy here is definitely one to consider. This is called Sting. It's a new one from Proven Winners, and it only gets to be about a foot in diameter. I think it's 12 to 18 inches in diameter, but like 20 feet tall, maybe even a little taller. But imagine that, I'm gonna back up. Imagine what that's going to look like when this is shooting up through here. And it's like a giant exclamation point. I just think that is the coolest thing. And then I've got a catmint in here as well that I initially took out of the garden. That's this guy here. That is Blue Prelude. It was really just too big for my garden in the backyard, and I took it out a couple years ago. They were samples sent to me from Darwin Perennials, and I decided it was too big, and I gave it to someone else. But then I realized when I decided I was going to do the side yard garden, I thought, wow, that Blue Prelude would be really nice in here. I've got the space for it now. And fortunately, I had a little seedling come off of it, and I saved it and located it to this part of the garden. And this is a really big super pollinator. Well, it will be, doesn't look like it just yet, but super pollinator friendly catmint, very tough, and it's constantly in flower. And this was just a little sprig of a seedling, and it's already started to fill in so nice. And the discoloration on it is repellent. So to keep anything off of it, I just threw some stuff out here. Not that deer and rabbits mess with catmint at all. It's really never really touched by the critters. So I have a peach here. I'm not too keen on that peach tree. That might be going, and I'm forgetting the name of it. But directly next to that is some Rebeckia maxima or Dumbo's ears, and I love that glaucous foliage on it. And these guys get really big, and they get these, you can see some remnants of the flower. They get these nice yellow flowers on it, and I think this one's gonna be, they'll be like 7 feet tall. So imagine that coming up so high. And then the trellis here, which is it's an H. Potter trellis, and growing in that is a Sensation Linicera or honeysuckle, the non-invasive form. And I've got some flowers on it, but you guys, when this is in flower, I've got some flowers coming out on it. And when this is flowering, the scent, oh, I've got some more tucked in here. Let me take you in here a little bit. This is Centara honeysuckle. And then behind that is my red spike amaranth. And I had to stake that as well. So I have twine running through it and one big stake, and I connected it to the trellis because of that wind. That wind was just pushing from the northwest, and had I not done that, these would have been just laid out. So I connected them and had a little stake, one stake left, and got those in place. And you know what? I am going to take you, wow, there's a lot of color there. I'm just admiring my own garden as I'm showing you this. I'm going to take you around the other side. So we'll go back and come through again. And all of these things are really, really tough plants, which is what I'm going for. I don't want to have to coddle anything and monkey with stuff like crazy. I just don't have the time to do that. And it's a lot of work as it is. But these are really things that I've used before in the garden that are really tough. And I want to show you one of my most favorite zinnias is this little guy here. So if you're looking for a zinnia with a smaller stature, this is a zinnia from the Magellan series. This is one called Ivory, Ivory Magellan zinnia. And they get about a foot tall, maybe not even that. Yeah, I'd say about a foot, but they get these really large, some are even like 5 inches across, flowers on them. And there's several different colors. You can get them in a mix. I tend to like things that are one single color. I've done them in pink. I think there's an orange I've done, but really a great zinnia for small spaces. So that's, those are Magellan zinnias. And I've got a couple different verbenas in here too. And I love the way verbena comes up in the garden. This one is just, I didn't put that in there. It just self-sowed, which I like because Verbena bonariensis is a really cool see-through plant and super pollinator friendly. So that kind of just found its way into the very front of the border. And I like it because it's not obnoxious and it's easy to see through. It's not blocking any views, and another easy one to take care of. And then down here, that's a lantana. Or I'm sorry, not lantana, that's verbena. And I believe that one's from Doom and Orange, and I can't remember the name of it. Shoot, I can't remember. But directly behind it are samples that I received from Darwin Perennials when I was attending the Garden Ball event last summer, and they sent me home with 3 of these guys. And this is the double scoop echinacea. This one is raspberry, and look at the flowers on that. Isn't that the coolest thing? And there's just, this has been in flower, no exaggeration here, this has been in flower since late May, and it's just nonstop. And I keep deadheading, so I'm making sure that the plant is, I've got some deadheads to do, like this needs to come out. You keep them deadheaded and they will keep flowering for you. So, and then here is a coreopsis from Proven Winners that I'm trialing too. And I'm trying to remember the name. This is a brand new one and another very pollinator friendly plant. And we'll see how it does. I mean, I don't like to rave too much about new plants until I've actually, experienced them in the garden. And this is brand new. I planted that this summer. So we'll see how it comes back next year, and then I'll let you know. So, and then right in the front is a plant that I divide constantly. This is more Millennium Allium, super pollinator friendly. And it's like the United Nations of plants. I mean, every type of bee is on here. Butterflies, everything comes to this plant. And it's super drought tolerant and low maintenance and just really cool looking with that Dr. Seussy flower, round flower head on it. Love that plant. I use it everywhere. And then another one that I absolutely love, and what's cool, let me go back to the Millennium Allium really quick. Allium are really cool for leaving them up, and you've got, once the flower color is gone, and these will pass in a couple weeks, leaving the flower heads up, and you've got that really neat shape on them. Hold on a second, I got a truck going by. Okay, as I was saying, so once the color is gone on these plants, you leave the flower heads up and you've got these round ball-shaped seed heads that add fall and winter interest. And I leave them up all through the winter, and they'll be, when they accumulate snow, they're just really a nice effect in the garden. And it's a really nice thing to have. It's boring to look out into your landscape and have it be shapeless, and this adds shape and texture to the winter garden. And then directly behind it, I've got some more zinnias coming up, and I forgot the name of those. I forget the name, but more zinnias. Can't have enough zinnias ever. And this is an Amsonia. This is Storm Cloud. This is gonna get this gorgeous orangey yellow color on it for the fall. And then in the springtime, it gets these really sweet blue, almost forget-me-like flowers on it that are super pollinator friendly. Right now it's very green, and it will, as the fall approaches, it will color up and be a really cool color variation with the panicle hydrangea here as that's coloring up, and then the flower plumes on that, and then the color of this is just going to be a really nice combination. And then moving down, got some more yarrow in here. I think this is that firefly again. Yeah, I need to deadhead this too, but even the spent flowers on yarrow are interesting. But I'll come in and deadhead that. And this rose, I can't say enough good things about this rose. This is a rose that I put in last summer, and it was a trial that was sent to me by Proven Winners. This is Flavorette Honey Apricot. And the really cool, interesting story on this rose. This one was a rose created by a team of women. And rose breeding is a very male-dominated industry, and this was created by a team of ladies whose goal it was to create this a line of culinary roses, things that are edible. And there are so many edible flowers. So, and I did a blog post on that too. So if you're interested, I'll link all that down in the description. But these were bred for their flavor. Isn't that beautiful? And you don't have to deadhead. And matter of fact, they say it's not necessary. I do deadhead, but this rose has been in flower, oh my gosh, for probably 6 weeks, and it's constant, just constantly in flower. And I find that the newer rose petals, as it ages, the flavor kind of dissipates, but the newer petals are more flavorful. I wouldn't say they're sweet exactly, but they're a pleasant flavor. But that is Flavorette Honey Apricot Rose, and I believe that's hardy to zone 4. And then directly in front of that is a Solidago called Little Lemon, I believe. I'm trying to remember the name of that. And great late summer, early fall. Doesn't look like it's doing much right now. This is a brand new, most of this is all brand new for the garden, but I just put one in just to see how it would do. And another very pollinator friendly plant. And behind that, I have one of my most favorite dahlias. Is this American? I say it's my most favorite dahlia and I can't even remember the name. I believe this is American Dawn. But look at the color variation on that. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's American Dawn, and I do need to fix the stake on that. But a plant that I was on the hunt for was this Heliopsis back here. And I want to show you, look at the color on the stems. I hope you can see that it's like a plummy purple color on the stem. And the flowers, so it's a false sunflower. And the flowers are this beautiful orange, but there's variations in the coloring. So you get this gorgeous foliage, has this purpley tinge to it with the purple stems, and then this variation in flower color. And everything's kind of got that lean to it because things were really hit hard by the storm. But that is Heliopsis Bleeding Heart. I mean, even the little seed heads are cute. Great plant. That's actually one of my most favorite introductions in the garden right now. I think that is such an interesting plant. And then directly in front of it is a plant called Euphoria Ruby Eupatorium, or Joe Pye weed. And it's like regular Joe Pye weed, or gateway, like 7-foot tall plant. I wanted to put something at the front of the border that was very pollinator friendly, but putting a 7-foot tall plant right here, and I already had plans for things in the back, I wanted to put the Euphoria Ruby here. And I keep finding butterflies on this. It keeps flowering, and I'm deadheading the old stuff. So this is a Darwin perennial, and I bought these again at Sunrise Greenhouse. I bought 3 of them, and they've taken beautifully to the garden. But such a gorgeous plant, and it's another one of those easy plants to take care of. And if you see I got another volunteer here. This is the Verbena bonariensis. I'm going to show you another variety of that later on further down the garden. But the verbena's coming up in there, and I love those see-through plants for that purpose. And then directly in front of it is a creeping zinnia that I grew from seed. I had a heck of a time getting them to flower or getting them to germinate. It was a really tough thing. And it's happened to me a couple times, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'll keep trying. I really like the dark centers of this little creeping zinnia. And I think I only had like 3 plants make it to this point, and now they're mounding at the front of the border. And so to continue on, I found 3 more creeping zinnia, but this is a variety called Sunbeanie from Proven Winners. So I added 3 of those. And what I love about this plant, or this variety in particular, is the reddish stems on it, because the one that I sowed doesn't have that reddish tinge to it. However, I prefer the orangier flower on the creeping zinnia that I grew from seed with the dark center on it to the more lemony color of this flower. It's still a really sweet flower. If we could combine those 2 elements, the darker reddish stems with the orangier flower with the dark center, that would be a win-win for me. And then directly behind it is Iceberg Alley sage leaf willow. So this is a wet spot in my garden. So prior to doing the garden, this was our gutter runs off, or the house, the water runoff comes this way off the house, and it used to shoot directly through and come this way and then shoot out that way, and then there's a sewer down in here. So my thinking is to put things that can handle some more of the moisture in here. I mean, we've since changed the way the water flows off of the side of the house, but the sage leaf willow excuse me, the sage leaf willow is really doing well, and it gets these really pretty catkins in the springtime that have red stamens on them. So very interesting plant, can handle wetter sites, and look at the leaf on it. So that silvery leaf is an indicator too that it can really take some sun, and I love it for the variation in the leaf color. I really look at all aspects of a plant because I want to know, I want to have something that has some legs to it. I want it to have really cool foliage, and if it's got some flowers or the catkins like the sage leaf willow, I'm all in for that. But I love this combination. So this is stepping back here looking out toward the street. So that's the sage leaf willow. I've got some Albrido coleus in here. And then directly in the back, it's not in flower anymore, but I have some purple rooster monarda here. And then I have a cordon bleu perennial hibiscus that I moved from another part of the garden. Things were getting overgrown, the trees were getting too big for it, so it was getting shaded out. And I specifically planted it here because I knew I was gonna put this red spike amaranth behind it. Let me show you a close-up of these flowers. Isn't that flower just the coolest? And this is an edible grain. Amaranth is edible. I believe all parts of it are edible, the leaves as well. Someone was telling me they make purple red, pink mashed potatoes from the seeds too. It dyes things. I know they use it for dyes. But as I was saying, oh, it's in flower. This wasn't like this yesterday. So this was my thinking. I put the cordon bleu perennial hibiscus. It's got this gorgeous kind of silvery blue flower on it. And I deliberately planted the red spike amaranth behind it to play off the red center of this this hibiscus here. So things don't always go to plan. If it was more upright, it would be more visible, more obvious, I guess. And then directly this way is a spilled wine Weigela, not flowering right now, but it's healthy. And another interesting dark-leaved plant, and it'll be covered in these magenta colored flowers that are super hummingbird pollinator friendly. So I'm gonna back up here and show you what I've got going on here. And I'm kind of disappointed with this little area here, but it was more of an experiment. So this is all Honorine Joubert anemone. So I have it in another part of the garden and it gets less sun there. This gets all day sun, and I don't have a watering system. I don't have automated watering. I am the watering system, and I just don't think it's getting enough moisture, and it's getting pretty toasted. So probably not the best place to put Honorine Joubert, but they were cuttings that I took, or roots that I transplanted from other plants in the garden, just trying it here. And then behind it is some North Pole arborvitae, and I've got one dying in the middle here. But, excuse me, I wanted to mimic what's going on here. So I've got some emerald green arborvitae here, and this camouflages our garbage cans that are directly behind it. So I wanted to mirror that on this side with some smaller arborvitae. This is North Pole, gets really tall, I think 15 feet tall, but doesn't have the diameter of like an emerald green. I think the diameter on that might be 4 feet. So I did these 3.5 feet on center to make sure that they form a nice green wall here. So I might have to rethink the Honorine Joubert anemone in here, but that's for another day. So moving along, I have some sedum here. This is Matrona sedum, one of my most favorite sedums. I don't have to give that the Chelsea chop. It always stays nice and erect. I don't have to cut anything back. It's a very determined plant. It doesn't, no critters. I do notice that some things like to nibble on the leaves, like the finches love to nibble on the leaves for some reason. And then behind that is a sweet fragrance rose. And it's an easy elegance rose. And it is one of the most fragrant roses I think I've ever had. And I wish you could smell this. And the foliage is gorgeous, super easy, low maintenance rose, no disease so far, knock on wood. And then behind it is a laced up elderberry or sambucus. And I'm picturing, I'm always picturing how these things are gonna grow together. And I thought, how beautiful will that be when this is a great elderberry for small spaces. It's it's got more height than it does width, which is perfect for a small space. And then having that dark background for the sweet fragrance rose, I just thought, how lovely would that be? And then further down are our gallery dahlias. This is a great dahlia for small spaces. I planted this all along the edge of the bed here. And this is a variety called Picasso. It's been flowering its head off just like crazy. Lots of buds. I do keep deadheading it to keep the flowers coming. I can see I need to do some more deadheading. And then behind that, for fall interest again, is a millet called Jade Princess. And this will fill in. And then I have a pennisetum here that is one called Puppy Tails or Puppy Love. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember, I can't. And then there's some sunflower back here, some more coneflower, and I'm forgetting the names of these. And then another Heliopsis. This is a new one from Proven Winners. This is called Touch of Blush. Look at the foliage. Isn't that the coolest thing? So this is just one plant, and it has been in flower since they sent it to me. So thank you, Proven Winners, for these samples. This is a great plant, very pollinator friendly. Just keeps flowering, and it's got that little hint of blush. And let's see back here. Oh, I wish it was in flower, shoot. So this is a Stokes Aster. This is called Totally Stoked Riptide. I think this is another one from Proven Winners. Had some great purple flowers on it. And then speaking of purple flowers, look at all of that verbena. So this is a verbena. I think this is my new favorite verbena. I love verbena, and the looser form that I showed you earlier in the video is great, and it self-sows, but this is one called Vanity, and I grew this from seed. And if you want something a little tidier, a little more kept looking, this is definitely one to consider for that look. If you want something a little less sprawling, Vanity Verbena is a good one. And then there's a Winecraft Gold smoke bush behind it, and a Panicle hydrangea, and I'm forgetting the name. I lost the tag for it. It's one of the smaller varieties, and I can't remember the name. If I had to pick a favorite plant this year, it's going to be this one right here. This is my favorite perennial in the garden. This is one from Darwin Perennials. These were samples sent to me last year? Yeah, last year, and I squeezed them in this space, not really thinking they were gonna do much because I've not really been impressed by Veronica or Speedwell in the past. This one is absolutely wonderful, super pollinator friendly. This is Skyward Pink, great for smaller spaces for the front of the border. I think it's Hardy had sown 3 or 4, can't remember, but I'll link to stuff below so you can look this stuff up. But the flowers are fabulous. And I just think when all of this grows in together, it's what a show it's gonna be. But this has definitely been quite a performer. And I have been deadheading it, so I'll cut these guys off, and it just keeps sending up new flower shoots. But it's a great Veronica. So that's Skyward Pink, and that is my favorite perennial for 2024 without a doubt. And then look at that, I love that verbena, that Vanity verbena behind it. So easy to grow from seed too, so I love that combination. And then I've got some phlox back here, and this is a salvia, another Darwin perennial. This is Blue Bayou. This is I need to cut this back again, deadhead it, and so it has bloomed a second time, and now I'll cut it back and hopefully get a third bloom on it. It just keeps pumping out these beautiful pollinator friendly purple flowers, and another very drought tolerant plant. And the bumbles have just started coming out, and I can see them on the verbena. Oh yeah. So, and I think this is this might be Kapow Pink Phlox. I can't remember that one either. Sorry guys, I'm striking a blank on some of these. But this is a doozy, double plate doozy, spirea, that I keep deadheading to. But look at the new foliage that comes out on that. Is this beautiful burgundy color, and then it greens up, and the flowers, very pollinator friendly. Just a very easy spirea, and in the past, I've not had good luck with spirea. It's half of it dies and it just looks so shaggy and just kind of gross. And this doesn't look like that, and it just keeps pumping out new flowers and really gorgeous foliage. And my favorite tree is this one here. Oops. This is Kindred Spirit. Let me back up. This is my Kindred Spirit oak. Another great small space tree, and it gets the sweetest little acorns on it. Let me see if I can find some on here. Let's look at the, oh yeah. And great fall color, yellow coloring, and really nice, about 4 feet diameter, maybe 20 feet tall. So another great small space option. And moving along is silver gumdrop heuchera and some bubble bath allium. And this is where my honorine Jobert anemone is, that I took those root cuttings from and transplanted in another spot. So you can see the difference. This is getting far less sun and everything looks so nice and lush. And this will be covered in, it's also called windflower. It'll be covered in these beautiful white flowers that are just gorgeous, and they sway in the wind. Very elegant plant. And then behind the silver gumdrop is one of my Japanese maples. And this is a viridis, cascading lace leaf Japanese maple. And then this is a mountain hydrangea serrata. And I'm trying to remember the name of this one. Did I leave a tag in it? We can hope. I think this might be Aha, but a really nice option. So if you've got hydrangea macrophylla, which in a cold climate can be really difficult to grow, that's been my experience at least. The flowers are often, if it flowers at all, if it does flower, the flowers will be buried inside because the flower buds in the wintertime get killed off, so you don't get flowers in the top, and you'll have this healthy looking shrub, but the flowers will be buried inside. So the answer to that is a mountain hydrangea. This is a lace cap variety, so you can see all the laciness. Isn't that pretty? Really a great plant. And then Bergenia. This is another one that I love. Look at those gorgeous paddle leaves. Gets a great flower on it. This is peppermint patty, or is this one pig squeak? I can't remember. Let's see, who are you? Yeah, this one's peppermint patty. It had an awesome flower on it this spring. It's just a really nice plant too. And then on the fence back here, I transplanted. It doesn't look very great right now. This was relocated from another part of the garden. This is Dutchman's pipe, and super pollinator friendly. It is the host plant for the pipevine swallowtail, which I have plenty of now that I've got this growing in here. And it gets these giant heart-shaped leaves on it, and these very interesting flowers that are kind of buried deep in the vine once this fills out, and they look like pipes. So I'm going to turn this around and show you. That is the side yard garden as it exists today. And then on this side, this bed's been here for quite a while. And this is my seducer hosta and some wildberry heuchera, great plant. And then I've got a little swan anemone in here, or elfin swan anemone, I think that is what it's called. And some mini saffron barberry. So that combination, isn't that a great combination? The purple and that chartreusey leaf color on the barberry. And then directly behind it is one of my most favorite roses. I feel like I say that about all of my roses. This is Munstead Wood. This is a David Austin, and it's really fragrant. When people walk by and it's in flower, they always want to know what that fragrance is, and it is always Munstead Wood. Super fragrant. I do wish I had smell-o-vision to show you this. And then back here is my Ivory Halo arborescens, Hydrangea arborescens, one of our natives. And in a study done by the Mount Cuba Center, they compared a bunch of different hydrangeas to see for pollinator friendliness, and this was one of the very best. So I have 2 of these. It doesn't look like much right now, but I have 2 of these shrubs in my garden because it's pollinator friendly and very easy care. So that is that little side yard area. And this is a really dry area because it's against the house and there's eaves. It's just a really dry zone. And then over this way is my Timukiyama lace leaf Japanese maple. Isn't that pretty? It's getting a little singed here. This is kind of a hot spot actually. So, but beautiful texture. And another, this is Tough Stuff. Oh, the other one was called Tough Stuff too. This is Tough Stuff Top Fun, another hydrangea serrata. This is a new one. So the other one was Tough Stuff Aha that I showed you a moment ago. And then the climbing rose here is a lilac thyme climbing rose. It's got some buds on it. So this is all new. You know, I just put this stuff in. This one went in last fall actually. And then behind that is something. This is Aruncus or goat's beard Chantilly lace, and I did a video on that. Let me come around the other side here and show you. This is kind of a dropping zone for all my cuttings, and the damage from the storm too is all laying back here. So this is the Aruncus Chantilly lace goat's beard. So these are those interesting seed heads it develops. And I am going to relocate this to another part of the garden because you can't even really see it anymore because the Japanese maple is kind of swallowing it up, and goat's beard wants to be big anyway. So that is my side yard garden, you guys. So that's my side yard garden, and thanks for walking with me. It's been a pleasure showing you. I will give you updates as things progress. I just can't believe how it's filled in already, and I've done much of this on a budget, from seed starting and dividing things in my own garden, and just that's a great way to start out if you don't have a whole lot of money to work with. Divide what you have and make something out of that, and experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment with it. And I can't say enough about this plant. This skyward pink Veronica is absolutely wonderful in every way. It's tough, low maintenance, just deadhead it, and it keeps flowering. And I just think it would be wonderful in every single garden because this is my favorite plant for 2024. You heard it here. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for joining me. See ya.